Right, welcome back, guys. This is Unit 8. This will be Natural Language Processing, otherwise known as NLP, on Google Cloud. And in this video, we'll just cover the concepts of text representation. Okay, it does come up in the exam, and I think it's really quite nice and easy, but it's nice to just confirm that we know these things before pressing on to slightly harder things. Okay, so it's worth just taking a minute to do this quick video. So let's get started. Let's start with tokenization. So tokenization, really nice. We love tokenization. All we're doing is we're taking a body of text and we're breaking it down into the smaller sub-components of that text. Okay, so it might be breaking it down into the words, or we could even split on the different parts of the grammar that might be in there, and we're going smaller and smaller. But if we might have a paragraph, we could first tokenize it to sentences, then tokenize it to words, and maybe tokenize it to other smaller things. But it's lovely. We're just putting different tokens to parts of the body of text that we're dealing with. So yeah, it's fairly basic. And importantly, we don't have any structure or have any dependencies on where these words are or how they relate to each other. So there's no further analysis that's taking place other than just breaking it down into the smaller components. But it's very nice, very cheap. And it can be used in things such as the bag of words model. So the bag of words model is generally known as just the frequency. So in this tokenization example here, every value would be just associated with 1 because it only appears one time. Okay, but if we had another sentence where it's we love NLP, we really love NLP, then we'd see that these would all be 2 now, and really would have just 1 because it's just counting the frequency, right? It doesn't have any ordering or other values associated to that. Good. So slightly harder then. Let's touch on word vectors because this will lead us into some more complicated topics. So word vectors, and I think they're known as word2vec in GCP as a way to enable word vectors. They're very generalizable to other associated vectors. So we might be interested in representing them as product vectors or other lots of lovely other vectors that we can see later on. But essentially, it's rather nice. We're just trying to put an associated value of how similar one thing is to another. Right. So I've got a silly little example to show you of what might be going on here. So we have on our axes, right, on our y value, on this axis here, we have magnitude. So how important or big a word is, how hurtful or how positive, how negative, how big how big of an effect it has, right? And then on the other axis down here, we have direction, because every vector should have a magnitude and a direction, essentially, is what I'm trying to get across here. Bit of a tweak on the maths, but regardless, we have a direction. So we have the good direction and we have the bad direction, quite simply, okay? So if you have a word such as good, that's sort of, it's definitely over in the good section, right? But its magnitude isn't as great as a word such as great. If we had fantastic, we could expect that to be over here somewhere, wherever we might draw it. But we could kind of get a sense for that's where this word might belong, or brilliant might be over here, let's say. Or you might think it's up here, right? It doesn't matter. It would be in this general area. And then on the other side, on the flip side, we have the sort of bad words, right? We have terrible, bad, and then we could have a whole host of other ones like awful, perhaps awful's over here, or maybe it's really bad and really powerful of a word, so it's up there. Okay, so this is just a way of representing the words in this vector space. Okay, and that's going to be a really handy thing moving on with lots of these networks. We'll be doing that with users, with images, with items, words, and why we're interested in doing that is that we find it very easy to find out how similar things are when they're in this vector form. Okay, there are lots of really crafty things we can do with maths to group these together and then determine how similar things are, even if they're just words or products, right? And depending on how far away they are from one another in the vector space, right? We could look at the cosine similarity score, which is dependent on the angle. So that's coming up in the course. You don't need to know too much about that, but it's built upon this vector notation. That's kind of the only thing I want you to remember. So we have a way of representing vectors, representing words as vectors, And it's a very generalizable way to do that. We could very easily change the x-axis down here from good or bad. We could have, or we might not even need to change the x-axis. We could just be looking at movies, and you could see my recommendations of movies, whether I think really good movies would be over on this side, and really bad movies would be over on this side, right? But if I think how bad they are or whatever it is, they would be in a different vector space. And then therefore you could determine, oh, well, some of them are fairly similar to each other, right? Okay, that's all I was looking to portray here. Hope that's nice and easy. So we have tokenization, which breaks down our text into smaller sub words and other smaller features, such as sentences if it's paragraphs, or words if it's sentences. And we have a way to represent words as vectors. Awesome. See you in the next one.